The war is in Gaza, but a new front has opened thousands of kilometers away in Western colleges. Many student organizations have taken sides. Their statements have raised eyebrows. Like at Harvard, students at Harvard released a statement after the Hamas attack, and guess who they blamed for this? They blamed Israel. The students blamed Israel's past policies for the attack. Elsewhere, we've seen protests. Like at New York's Columbia University, hundreds of students gathered for dueling protests. One group supported Palestine, the other supported Israel. Classes were cancelled after fears of a clash. Jewish students said anti-Semitism was on the rise.
Students who were attacked for speaking Hebrew and for hanging up signs denouncing Hamas. There are people over there who are cheering with Palestinian flags after women were raped and stripped and then taken, their dead corpses paraded through the streets of Gaza.
Now, some of this hatred has been toned down. Like at Harvard, a few of the students who wrote that statement have distanced themselves. Why? Because it's hurting their future. Major donors have asked colleges to condemn the Hamas attack, plus employers are blacklisting these students. Like hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman, he has asked Harvard to release the names of students who supported Hamas. He wants to blacklist them. And the threat clearly worked, because some of the students withdrew their statements. Now, we can debate this tactic all we want to. Is blacklisting students for their opinions a good thing? Or will it further alienate them? US presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy thinks it's a bad idea. He says these students are quote-unquote simple fools. But he also says blacklisting them is not productive. Ramaswamy called it dumb political statements. But what shapes these so-called dumb opinions? It is important to understand that, because supporting Hamas is not just dumb, it's also dangerous. So why are these students doing it? One reason could be the faculty. Your lessons and classes influence your opinions. Let me tell you what happened at Stanford, again a storied Western college. A lecturer pulled up Jewish students in an undergraduate class at Stanford. He made them stand in a corner, and he then told the class, "This is what Israel does to Palestinians." The same lecturer also called an Israeli student a colonizer. He's been suspended now, but you get an idea of what goes on. The same Stanford is yet to condemn Hamas. Their statement only talks about death and human suffering. Yale University is another example. One of their professors had a controversial take on the Hamas attack. She said, settlers are not civilians. In other words, do not mourn the Israeli victims. They had it coming. Settlers are not civilians. And how did Yale respond to this? They said it's freedom of expression, that the comments represented her personal views. How is that not a problem? We are talking about a professor here, someone who shapes the opinions of an entire generation. Surely her personal views are important. Would Yale do the same if she said 9/11 was fake? I bet the action would be stricter. So the faculty and colleges must take some of the blame, because this is not about rebellious teenagers. This is about wrong ideas, about equating terrorism with resistance. These are two very different things. That doesn't mean colleges should censor students or hurt their career prospects, but they should point them in the right direction. Isn't that the whole point of colleges? Yes, there is debate. Yes, there are conflicting opinions, but there are always guardrails, lines that must never be crossed by students. Surely supporting terrorism falls beyond that line. We have nothing against students supporting Palestine. Some of them have genuine concerns, but also condemn Hamas. In an ideal campus, both would be possible. And there are students doing just that, like this Jewish student in New York pointed out.
Quite frankly, the support from my Muslim friends as well. All of the Muslim people who I know, who I'm close with, have reached out to ask if I'm okay and to see how my family's doing. It's just, when it becomes impersonal, people feel much more comfortable calling for violence, and I think that's not okay.
Sums up the problem. Colleges can be a radical experience for students. You're exposed to freedom, you're exposed to new ideas, and in that rush, you can get carried away. You become militant in your opinions and politics. You fail to hear or understand the other side. Now, most students outgrow this phase. But who knows? Maybe a tiny minority will not. They will continue their pro-Hamas politics into adulthood. And who takes the blame for that? Not these colleges, for sure.